Hello and welcome now to episode 11 of the Gentle Revolution podcast, where we seek to explore the nuance of human possibility, to explore what it is that makes us better versions of ourselves, more in line with Dharma, our truth, a better way of living. And this episode, I'm really honoured to connect with a good friend, Danni Carr, who I've known for a good number of years now, and she is a very well-known podcast host of the How I Quit Alcohol podcast, one of the world's leading podcasts where they explore how to quit alcohol for people with alcohol dependence who are wishing to transcend the limitations of that drug and lead a life beyond the consumption of alcohol. Danni offers a beautiful podcast and a whole series of amazing guests. She's actually interviewed me a number of times where I've been able to talk about my own journey with sobriety and exploring life without alcohol. And in this episode, I was able to turn the microphone around and interview her and ask her very much about her journey with alcohol, as I describe it, How I Quit Alcohol, which that's her Instagram handle. Some people refer to her as that. I had one of my good friends always referring to her. I was like, how's it going with How I Quit Alcohol? Because Danni and I are good friends. We collaborate together. We've run numerous retreats together, and we do in fact have another retreat planned for next year, June 2026 in Bali. So we've collaborated on a whole bunch of levels. She's in fact been my student. I was really fortunate to guide her into the practice of yoga nidra, meditation, pranayama through our teacher training program. And she has indeed been one of our stellar graduates who's paid forward these practices to so many people. So the interview, gets to the heart of where Danni has gone in her journey of how she quit alcohol. And it's a very personal share. We have a good laugh together. I hope you'll enjoy.
Hi, Mark. Danni Carr.
Some skin.
Oh. Hi, Mark.
Hi, Danni.
Hi.
Dear Danni, and welcome to the Gentle Revolution podcast. I'm really honoured that you have taken time out of your busy schedule to join me for this conversation.
Thank you.
I'm really interested in your story. I touched upon it a little bit earlier in the prelude to this conversation that I found your story very interesting. But it is interesting, and I'm sure many people will be interested. So, look, I have entitled this, and I've been telling you this for ages, and the reason I wanted to be part of the podcast, I have such a great name for this podcast, it's called How I Quit Alcohol, Quit Alcohol. So, I know you as Danni Carr, but some people know you as How I Quit Alcohol.
Yes, apparently. You told me that today.
Some people refer to other people by their Instagram handles, and your Instagram handle is at How I Quit Alcohol. You've also got a website. So you created...
Called I Quit Alcohol.
Oh, I Quit Alcohol. Okay. How I Quit Alcohol, in your case, is actually a very interesting topic of conversation, and I do want to go there. But the really interesting question is, why did you quit alcohol?
Oh, because... Am I allowed to swear?
Oh, yeah.
Because I was a fuckwit on alcohol, mostly.
No, sometimes I'm sure you're really funny.
Yeah, at times I thought I was probably fun and thought that everyone was enjoying me as much as I was, but I don't know, actually.
It's a tricky one. No. It's not an uncommon story.
No.
So, human being on their own, sometimes funny, sometimes a bit depressed, sometimes happy, sometimes sad, etc., etc. Add alcohol into the mix. I was very much like this, unpredictable, not quite sure where
100%.
Where we would end up. So you did drink alcohol for a period of time in your life?
Yeah, I grew up in central Victoria and started drinking around about 13, 14.
What else was there to do?
There's nothing else to do. Get fingered on you.
Oh, God, okay.
Take that bit out.
No, leave that bit in for sure.
But...
Finger banging, I think it was.
But it's just there was a culture of binge drinking there, and not knowing then, or even up until a few years ago what I know now about trauma and things like that. But just grew up binge drinking. That's what we all did. That's how I felt included, like I belonged, and just kept up that cycle. So there was no off switch for me either. Sometimes there'd be the off switch, but mostly it was just binge drinking, blackout drinking. And what you said then about not trusting yourself in the end, felt, like I didn't know what I was going to get towards the end, and that felt really scary sometimes. And it wasn't like drinking all the time, but when I did, just giving it such a nudge that it was like just getting sick of waking up like that consistently and feeling terrible.
I know the feeling. It's just such a similar story to mine. The one thing that really resonated for me though was this feeling of not being the person that I really wanted to be. Unfulfilled destiny, and I could feel my life with alcohol was going in this, which was sometimes fun and sometimes adventurous, but there was this feeling of just being off track. And that if I was going to get back on track, and I had tried for a long time to get back on track whilst managing an alcohol habit, that I needed to do something radical. And I sat and I prayed and I did lots of meditation. I was already doing meditation and yoga, but I'd go off and drink and end up in this similar spot again and again. I used to pray and question. I was like, what do I need to do, God? What do I need to do? And I get this, stop drinking, Mark. Stop drinking, Mark. Stop drinking. Same message, Mark. Stop drinking. And sooner or later, I came to a point where I just didn't have a choice. I had to stop drinking. It was just, I guess there's always a choice. The choice in the other direction was getting less and less enticing and stepping into the great unknown of what does sobriety look like? What does that look like as an adult? And that was a big one, right?
Oh, totally, yeah. Especially when you've grown up. Like there were a lot of people around me that were sober. Lissy Turner, yoga teacher, she was, and I knew her as a trash bag as well.
Okay.
So she was quite a shining light for me. I was like, wow, that's possible.
It's possible. And it doesn't look so bad.
Yeah, and then a couple of other friends as well. Ben Schiller, who you know, he lived next door. So there was a few people then in my orbit. Elton John, not that I know him personally. But
You guys have got a thing.
Yeah.
He gives you like front seat to the concert.
I always get front row. So there was a few people, but it was definitely like not the norm. Like all of the circles that we ran in, it was just so much drinking.
You live in Australia, and particularly it's in our generation where and our parents' generation were power drinkers. Like I see a lot of my kids who are, and in that younger generation, maybe it's just what I'm seeing because I don't drink and my children's mother doesn't drink. The younger kids aren't so infatuated. It's still there, but they're just not so infatuated with getting trashed. Maybe you mentioned before something, because you've studied, which we'll get to with Gabor Mate, but he had suggested that our generation was a little bit lost somehow. Could you explain why my generation is lost?
Like our generation?
Yeah,
lost?
why our generation? You mentioned something earlier.
In essence, basically, because as the generations have gone on, we've become more and more disconnected, and the family unit has become also more insular, but then the family, so the traditional mum and dad roles, mum and dad are working all the time, so they're not so there with the kids. So our parents as well were probably starting there where they were out working all the time, super busy. We're not living with grandparents and other extended family like they do in other cultures as well. And so no one's really tuning to the kids because there's so many things to do, so many things are happening. And then certainly now in our kids' lives, we're on phones all the time as well as being super busy, and we're constantly distracted. So we're not really attuning to our kids so much anymore.
I think we're doing better than our parents were in general, from what I see. I certainly am. I'm going to claim it. I feel like I'm much more present.
I'm not. I've had heaps of time when my kids are talking to me and I'm mid-scroll. Yeah. I hate to admit it, but that's the truth.
You're hard on yourself,
trying to work
Danni. I've seen you with your kids and I've seen Ash with your kids and...
Ash is a way better parent than me.
Okay. You're good at other things. And look, isn't that an interesting equal opportunity? You're a pretty good parent. I've seen you with your kids. I know your passion for that. And look, it's not about being a superstar either. It's actually about being honest. Just keep showing up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just keep showing up.
But then in terms of showing up for the kids too, that's one of the reasons I wanted to stop drinking as well. I grew up with an addict parent, not knowing what I was going to get half the time. It wasn't alcohol so much as prescription drugs, but it was quite extreme, the very extreme end of it. And wouldn't know if you'd get home and mum would be passed out on the floor or not, or what mood they were going to be in. And I started to recognise this thing that I would always criticise my mum about and be really like, oh, why is it different for me? Drinking alcohol, it's still the same thing. So my kids are also getting a different version of me, but I'm different, aren't I? When I'm getting really drunk, then I'm behaving badly or however I'm behaving, or not remembering if I've put them to bed or given them dinner the night before. So I'm starting to see this is not just about me now, it was also affecting our relationship, but it's affecting these little people that I need to be present with. And that was also one of the big drivers for me, was the kids.
Me too.
As much as I needed to do it for myself.
Me too. There's such a barometer with your kids. You see them, and when you feel them slipping away, it's all shit.
But my kids were little, like taking us off, reenacting us being drunk.
Goodness.
And it was like, oh, this is not what I want. I don't want this.
No.
But similar to you as well, I started to dabble with yoga. I wanted this other way of being, but it was also so far from what I'd grown up with as well. But I felt so out of balance. Who am I? Am I this person who wants to be healthy and get into yoga and do all those things, or am I this trash bag? And it just felt so out of balance.
The trash bag yogi.
Yeah.
I was that. I could literally be at the Rails Hotel in Bar and giving a satsang. I'd studied philosophy. I was really into philosophy, and thought I knew I could give you a big discourse on yoga 4 beers in with a B&H, or when we used to smoke Styvies or Champion Ruby, and I was the... But deep down, I resisted, because I'd actually done a fair bit of study. I resisted teaching. I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be a teacher. In that space, I knew that before I stepped into the teaching role, I really needed to be sober and actually do some time. So I actually stopped drinking and basically had 2 years of really just focusing on that. That was my first, and that's over 15 years ago now, so it was quite a long time ago, but there was 2 years of, I'm just going to focus on just really simple living, get sober, get more and more into my yoga practice, but not really think about teaching. And I was nearly 5 years sober before I really stepped into the teaching role. Okay, it's time now. I've done a lot more study and I've been teaching fairly actively ever since. You have had an amazing journey since you stopped drinking. How many years ago now?
7.5 years
7.5.
ago. Yeah.
That's incredible.
I can't believe, yeah.
What an adventure.
Yeah, and if you had have told me at the start that I wouldn't be drinking for 7.5 years, I would have bolted. There's no way I would have done that. So it was...
That's not how you get sober, by contemplating what 7.5 years looks like. Okay, I'm going to stop drinking now.
For us, it was... We did a challenge with a group of friends.
Okay.
And my best friend actually said she was going to take a year off alcohol. And it was just like the nod that I needed, because she was also one of my drinking buddies. I was like, I'm in. I was so desperate, Mark, because I'd just recently, before that, had had a massive blackout. And I just felt so scared, and I just didn't know. So I never thought I was going to quit forever or anything like that. I just thought I just need a good amount of time, because I've done lots of 1 month here, 1 month there. I'm never drinking again, and then boom, back on it. So I thought a year, that's a really long time, but I want something extreme, because I'm quite an extreme person. And then I said to Ash, hey, I'm doing this. I'm going to take a year off. Do you want to do it as well? And he was like, okay, because he'd taken some time off as well. And we weren't in good shape, like our relationship was not in good shape. In fact, there's no way we'd be together now if we hadn't quit drinking. There's no way. And then some other friends, Scott, bass player, Scott Owen from the Living End, and then his partner and a couple of other musician friends all said we're in too. So yeah, we made this little WhatsApp group, no idea how. And in the first 2 weeks, I was like, what the fuck have I done? Why am I doing this? This is really shit. It's so hard. And we were on holidays, we're in Melbourne, and I was like, this is so hard. I hate this. How am I going to do 1 year? But I told everyone as well, and so many people had said to me, I'm calling bullshit on that. There's no way. So I was determined not to. And then, so I thought pretty quickly, I've got to change my mindset. So this is where I first started dabbling with gratitude and mindset.
Which is a really big part of your practice. Gratitude, I want to talk about that more.
Yeah. Really started to change my way of thinking about it. And started to see it as a bit of a gift. I've got this gift, I've got this opportunity to do this for myself for a year. Then Ash and I worked really hard on creating a practice that's nothing like what it is today, but it was something that we could just sink our teeth into, and that's how we quit, really, was that the community, with having the group of friends doing it together. We had a WhatsApp group, and just really focusing on getting ourselves out of the shit, getting out of this, because I was like full of anxiety, like panic attacks nearly every night, wasn't sleeping, just so unhealthy. But the mental stuff, like days and days, like not sleeping because just stressing about things, worrying, really negative. So I knew that had to change. Yeah, and then as Ash says, it was easy.
So just to people who don't know, that you are a musician and your partner Ash is also a musician, so you've been very much in the music industry since basically your whole life, working in the music industry. A lot of your friends are professional musicians. Ash is still touring intensively. Alcohol is synonymous with that world. So it's not just a simple thing to, okay, hey, we don't drink anymore. Although that said, there's some really shining role models of sobriety. You know, what I've found in the music industry, people either drink a lot or they don't drink at all. There's people who have gotten sober, and you mentioned Elton John before, a really shining example. Those who didn't die. A lot of people in the music industry do die, and there's many sad, tragic stories there, but there are also some amazing stories of amazingly talented human beings who thankfully got the message and got the right sort of help at the time. There's a bit of luck involved, really. I think a lot of the time there's just the right people coming. Those little moments when we're teachable, and that we get something, providence comes through. That little group came together just at that moment. You were like, yeah, cool, I'm up for this, and a little bit of light shines through, and somehow or another you grab it. For me, it was very much a bit of luck. There was the right people there at the right time. I'd seen a few people in my world, in my sphere, who were sober. I was working in the TV industry a lot in my last few years of drinking, and there was a couple of actors that I knew who were sober. Susie Porter, who's a well-known Australian actress, beautiful woman. She was 5 years sober, and we worked on a TV show together. I remember she told me, I'm 5 years. I was like, so you don't drink, Susie? She's like, 5 years sober, Mark, 5 years sober. And I was like, how exactly have you managed that? And she explained her journey to me and was really supportive. And other people, I've got a couple of family members who've been sober. And just people who saw out there, it's not so bad. There's a choice. And I think that's why it's so important for people like you and for people like me who are sober, who've managed to navigate through the maelstrom of it all, and through luck, providence, whatever other support that we got, the good decisions that we made, because we did make some good decisions to get to that point where not only being sober, but living your best life. At this point in time, I'd hazard a guess that you're generally pretty content. From where I see you, you've had an amazing trajectory in your journey of sobriety, and this whole thing around how I quit alcohol, it projected you into a totally new phase in life where you've been able to support thousands, are we up to? Thousands of people on their own journey of sobriety. And I know many of those people, because we've run retreats and whatnot together, who are many years sober and doing amazingly well. And if you hadn't have managed to get that, whatever it is, together, who knows where those people would have ended up. And it just, this is it. This is the magic.
Yeah, it's amazing where you end up. Like, you just like, God, if you think about Danni there having panic attacks and in that first 2 weeks thinking, what the fuck have I done? No idea that anything even remotely like this would have ever taken place, or gosh, bloody hell, yeah, the mind boggles.
So at a certain point, you decided it was going to be a good idea to start a podcast and talk about your journey of sobriety, and that was what, 4 or 5 years ago now?
It was actually during COVID. And I remember there was this ad going out with all these Australian actors and things saying, don't start a podcast. Whatever, don't start a podcast. It was some funny, I don't know what, who, I don't know. Anyway, and it's got me thinking, I should start a podcast. I know. But Ash...
How to get Danni to do something. Don't do that, Danni. Oh, okay.
Yeah, exactly. But Ash... My husband had a podcast called Soulful Conversations, and I kept, because a lot of people were asking us then, because by then it had been a couple of years, and people were starting to say, how did you guys quit? What the hell? Because we were so well known for, it was always people at our house. There's always a party at our place and like every weekend. And people were like, how the hell did you do it? And all these people who were like, I'm calling bullshit on this, were like, and so many people were asking. I said to Ash, you should like do a podcast on the not drinking, like you and Scott. I was thinking, and Scott should. I think he did interview Scott on his podcast actually about it. I don't know why I thought doing this, but I just thought I'll just do a few episodes on each of us that quit. So to explain how we went about it, because it was a bit different for all of us. And so I interviewed Ash at first and I put it out there and it just went pretty big straight away. Like all these people shared it and were telling other people, and it was like, I was quite shocked. And then I thought, oh, well, I'll interview Scott next. And so I interviewed Scott, and then that got shared around like the music industry, and all these people shared it as well. And then I interviewed Claire, who was Scott's girlfriend. And so the people had quit together. And then my friend Lyndall, who was in AA, but just thought, oh, it'd be interesting to hear from someone who's done AA. And that's how it started. And I just got this influx of people like messaging me, and just watching you can see the stats of your podcast, just it was insane. So I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And then, I don't know, you started asking other people. I thought, it's not just my story. There's so many different ways people have quit.
And and reasons why people have quit. And this is, it's people's journey with alcohol. It's like, because you're getting them at the crossroads and you're getting people at the darkest and then potentially the brightest times of their life. And I've listened to many of your podcasts, and it's fascinating the way that people will lay open and bare their souls. And this is my story. I've been on your podcast and
multiple times
shared my story. It's a beautiful thing to do. It's really liberating to come in and say, hey, this is what it was like for me. And I've had many people reach out through that podcast and go, wow, like friends, family, et cetera, people who don't know me, who've just reached out and just gone, that story connected with me. I think I told you I had a family member come to me at Christmas about 3 years ago and say, oh, I've been interested in thinking about sobriety and I feel like alcohol's not really working for me. And I heard you on the Danni Carr's podcast and would ask me a couple of questions. And then I think it was 2 years after that, we had another Christmas together, and this person said, I've been listening to that podcast a lot, and she said, I've been sober ever since. That podcast has held my hand and walked me through. And look, there's lots of different ways. I'm a big fan of 12-step fellowships, and it could be at church, it could be a lot of meditation, obviously, and yoga and breath work is the stuff we're into, but there's lots of different ways to achieve. There's all commonality though. I think you've touched upon community as being a big one for you. And the podcast brings a community of people who are connecting in lots of different ways. You have groups of people that you bring together, you run courses which are really popular, giving people just that little toe in to explore those challenge groups. Explain how those challenge groups work.
So, the challenge group is what's changed. It's evolved so much over time, and as I've trained in different things, but it originally started as a 3-month thing where it would just be like live Zoom calls every week and just giving people, it was basically exactly what Ash and I and Scott and Claire and everyone did it, like how we did it. Yeah. We had a journal as well, which I've still got, which is based on the journaling that we did and all the tools that we used in that year where we quit. And so now it's changed and evolved, that challenge, like to 6 weeks and 4 weeks where there's daily practice and all the stuff that you taught me, using those tools to calm the nervous system and understanding why we do. There's lots of different things to it, but it's basically live and online calls daily, and it helps people. But also going back to the podcast, when I quit alcohol in that first year, I was trying to find a podcast like mine, and all I could find was a few like AA. There's probably some out there, I just couldn't find them. All I could find was AA meetings. So I'd listen to AA meetings and go to sleep, just listening. But I was always fascinated by people's stories, like hearing like just all about it. And that was also the other thing that when I started the podcast, I was like, yeah. And as it got going, it was like, it's really nice to hear different people's stories, because there's always something familiar in someone else's story that you hear, no matter even how bad it is, or you might have someone that's only drinks on the weekends or one glass of wine at night, but they can't stop. Or someone who's been drinking metho and lost their kids. But there's a commonality there.
There really is. And there's a great power in it, being able to say, I was never a meth drinker. And I pray for those people who go down that path, because it's a nasty shit. But there's the same, we have similarities. Like in...
Did I say drinking meth or metho?
Metho?
Methylated spirits.
I think if you smoke meth, you drink metho.
Yeah, that's just checking myself.
Either one are bad. By the way, the kids at home, don't touch a meth.
Anything that has the word meth in it,
just stay away from it. But that idea of connecting with commonality and understanding, and it's empathy, which is one of the great fundamental qualities of the human spirit, which will help us connecting with empathy within us.
So when I do these groups, it's also it's the same kind of thing. It's just bringing a group of people together who, there's been so we've got a thing called the grads group, which is people who have done my course who want to stay connected. They then join another group's grads group. And I've just seen the most incredible friendships form, and you've seen them on retreats and stuff. The most incredible lifelong friendships, deep, meaningful friendships that are not based on what the people earn or what they do for a living. No one gives a shit. All we care about is like little wins.
Yeah.
You know, the juicy stuff.
The juicy stuff.
And so that's also what the course is about.
They're the best friends. You know, those people who've seen you at your worst and are cheering for you to be at your best.
I'm not even seeing you at your worst, because some of these people have never seen each other drink, but they're cheering for you. I've talked about this on a retreat, and I think we were touching on this the other day, that from the yoga perspective, when you're drinking, you're practicing himsa, like you're harming yourself. And when you're not drinking and you're actively working on yourself, you're practicing ahimsa. So I really notice if I'm around people that aren't practicing ahimsa, my energy feels really drained. If I'm around people like that constantly, but it's get me into a situation where you're around people that are all have this commonality. We're all, I don't know, the energy is so different. It feels so good to be around people like that. So
it really does. It lifts you up. I want to talk more about your story and about your journey. I'm just going to do one quick check for a second, just making sure the camera is still rolling. Yep, we're good. So, let's go back in. You stopped drinking and you found your way to, and it sounded like from the get-go, you made some good choices. Like you mentioned gratitude before. That was, to me, like all this, that was introduced to me early in sobriety, and I still point to that as being your spirituality 101. It's just, not that it's just such a powerful practice. I supported a whole bunch of people in their early stages of sobriety. It's like a gratitude list. What 5 things you're grateful for today? And look, at any stage, write the gratitude list. I saw you doing it this morning. You do it every day? Every day.
And most nights.
That's one thing that really impressed me about you, Danni, is you're not just having a sniff around it, you're just jumping in and you're doing this with every ounce of your being. I met you and you were probably like a couple of years into this journey at that point in time. You did have the podcast. You were in there, you had a couple of years of sobriety.
Yeah, 3? Yeah.
3 years of sobriety. And so I met you originally, you called me up and you were interested in doing the meditation and breathwork training with me. And that was, however many years ago that was. And you, again, just jumped right in, threw yourself into that. And I think what I saw there was somebody who was just this enthusiasm, and it wasn't just you weren't just looking for a new stripe on your shirt. You really you wanted what was available. So talk to me about your journey, meditation, breath work, and particularly yoga nidra. How have those practices affected you?
Oh, massively, so massively. Like I said, at the start, I was doing yoga off and on, and I had a very love-hate relationship with it. So Lissy Turner, who I mentioned earlier, she'd done her yoga teacher training and they needed to do some practice and stuff at the start. So I was like, oh yeah, I'll come to your yoga classes. And I liked it, but I didn't love it. I was always hungover as well, so I didn't love it.
Yeah, hangovers and yoga, they're not the best of friends.
Yeah, and then meditation, hated its guts, hated it. And even Shavasana at the end, I remember sometimes Lissy would, once they got their studio going in Ocean Shores there, she'd be leading everyone into Shavasana, and I would if it was too long, I'd get the shits and walk out and slam the door.
Slam the door?
Yeah, and then she'd be like, And all of a sudden I'm like, can you hurry up? Or I'll just leave, just go. I just hated it so much. And we were on retreat once and I'm just like, oh, she's getting us to meditate and things like that. And just getting really angry. And she's so gentle in her, and she's never forceful really, but it could be a sign that you might need it. Something, I can't remember what she said. And that was the same day, I think I turned up drunk to one of the yoga classes on the retreat, and she's just...
Were you in Bali? Where was the retreat?
Nusa Lembongan.
Nusa Lembongan, okay.
She still let me back the next day, but also, and we'd done a little bit of yoga nidra there, different to your style. And so, yeah, it wasn't a great relationship with yoga at the start, but then I started to like, I don't know, it was in there a little bit then, and I just started to like it more and more. We moved to Bali and did lots of online yoga because I couldn't find a good yoga teacher that I liked, but still persisting with Lissy and Shane. So every time they'd come to Bali, and then I just got to like it more and more, and just knowing I needed more of that. So I did a Vedic meditation course as well, and I really did start to like it then. I could feel the effects.
Yeah.
I've got a super busy mind, so I could feel it was actually working, and it was quite difficult. And then I heard about Yoga Nidra. I loved Yoga Nidra, I'd done it quite a bit, but then when you came on the podcast and we started talking about it, I was like, I just started to get into it more, and I think you came on the podcast before I did your course.
Correct, yeah.
And then I thought, yeah, I've got to get more of this. And then it's like it opened Pandora's box, and I just absolutely fell in love with it. Yeah, so there was a few things that came together. I reached out to this lady called Sam Brown, Soulful Lifestyle, and doing breath work with her.
Teach you a lot of breath work, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, I was like, I've got to do this. And I've always been a bit of a believer in when things are planted in front of you, go with that, if it feels right. And then it was like your course came up and it just all felt it. And I quite liked you as well as a human. I was like, I like this guy. He's not full of shit.
He swears. He's good.
Yeah, I liked you too because and I'm like this as well, like you're just quite honest about it. It's not I'm this perfect human who's got it all sorted out. You're like, oh yeah, I lose my shit sometimes or whatever, and that's why we need the practice. And so I was like, yes, that's the person. And then just fell in love with it. And your course as well I just loved everything about it, but it was just so rich and deep and balanced. It wasn't like this big kind of looking for fireworks. It was very steady and balanced, and I loved that. It felt safe.
Yeah, we're looking for that. Safety is good when we've had the fireworks, right? There's enough fireworks going on. We create enough fireworks. I'm looking for safety in my practice.
Yeah, me too.
I want to rock. I want to build. I want my practice to be the touchstone, the rock that I can come back to.
Yeah.
And we have Yoga Nidra is like our love affair. That's the touchstone that we can go. You've been with me this week. We're doing a Kundalini Tantra retreat. We're doing a lot of really dynamic practice. It's very exciting and lots of fun. And it's great, but the Yoga Nidra is the one I keep pointing back to, and keep coming back to, because I need the stillness. And there is, pound for pound, I heard Oscar say many times, there is no better practice to give you that deep parasympathetic experience that most of us are needing most of the time, particularly those of us that are blessed with this busy brain.
It's Yoga Nidra I just love, and have then taught it to so many people, and it's been just so transformative for so many people, and my husband included, could really go into that. But Nadi Shodhana, like the alternate nostril breathing, for me is like that and Viloma are the sort of the two. I just love it so much because it's again, if you've been really like chaotic in your life and really attracted to drama and the chaos, the grounding is, I just need grounding practices all the time. The big breathworky stuff I don't love so much because it's just, it's just not what I need.
Yeah, sure.
I get that people need it.
And that's wisdom, and people love it. It can shock us into life. Some of the time people who are really tamastic can go, okay, you're not suffering from tamas. You've got so much pitta, so much fire. It's about earthing, so you need the tamas and you need the practices, Yoga Nidra, Viloma, Nadi Shodhana, both, all just really grounding, simple practices. We don't have to overthink them.
Yeah.
Again, like you always have, I know so much about yoga. I know so many amazing different techniques and wonderful things that you can do with your breath and your body, but it's the simple things that I return back to again and again, which is great. When, as teachers, we can share that with people. Like, hey, here's a simple recording of Yoga Nidra. If you do this 3 times a week, I swear to God, it will change your life. Throw in Nadi Shodhana a few times a week. Man, wow. Amazing.
That's unbelievable. And the yoga nidra, oh my God, I love it so much. Do it pretty much every day, if not most days. But I've got a really busy life, and I schedule it in usually between 2 and 3 in the afternoon, and I make sure I block out that time in my work day. It's right before I pick up the kids.
Sure.
And I get up really early. Like I often get up at 3 or 4 and start my practice or work or whatever.
Yeah, me too.
So I have to do it that night. Yeah.
Like otherwise, night times are not good.
Yeah, and I could feel the energy drop. And then if I go and do yoga nidra, even if it's a short one, like 20 minutes or something, it just resets me, and I'm just like a new human again. When before, if I was tired in the afternoon, I'd probably drink or want sweet food.
Mummy wine.
So it's the greatest, and that's why it's so great teaching it to people who are they need something at 3 in the afternoon or 4 before they get the kids, or it's so powerful. It's so powerful.
I'm going to spin this into a conversation now about the nervous system. Okay, this is one of the things that sort of comes through yoga nidra practice that you're just pointing to is like what you're doing at 2 or 3 o'clock is giving yourself a nervous system a big reset. In fact, what we're quite specifically doing is resetting the dopamine pathways and just clearing out that build-up of cortisol in the basal ganglia, which gives you that feeling of being quite refreshed. It's almost as though you've had a sleep. So you can go into that next part. It almost as if you're getting many of the effects of significant hours of sleep. So for those of us who get up early, we're getting a profound effect from that yoga nidra practice, and which empowers us to go into the whatever happens next, the evening hours, without reaching for the wine. Because what happens if you don't get that, you start to feel, I need some caffeine, afternoon coffee, and then I need some wine to settle that down, or a beer, or whatever it is, and try to manage the nervous system through drugs, essentially, caffeine and alcohol, drink with caffeine to keep us up and alcohol to drop us down. And they don't work very well. It's a very slippery cocktail. Throw in a little bit of weed just to mix it up a little bit. But what you've done since studying with me is make this study of the nervous system very much central to your own ongoing study and your ongoing teaching. Can you explain a little bit about what that looked like? Maybe your study with Gabor Mate and ongoing studies which you're doing?
Well, before the course with you as well, I had done the Gabor Mate Compassion Inquiry for professionals. So there was lots of exploration into the nervous systems, and that's where things started to go, it's all making sense now. And I really understood that the drinking was just trying to get my nervous system back into like homeostasis, like back into the window of tolerance. And that any time that you go to either end of the survival spectrum, you usually want to reach for something to get you back into that state where it feels safe. You're just trying to get back to safety. And then I understood it's no one's bad. They're just trying to get themselves back to where they feel safe, even if it's in a, like feeling socially awkward or the big stuff, the big trauma stuff that comes up. So I started to understand that. A lot of things come into So we did some workshops with Deb Danner.
Deb Danner's amazing.
Yeah, and so I really started to explore the polyvagal theory. And actually, at the moment, I'm just finishing up applied polyvagal theory in yoga with Dr. Ariel Schwartz. She's amazing, and Deb Danner was part of that as well.
Can I just interrupt? Deb Danner is, for people who don't know, can you just give us a bit of an explanation?
She's the author of a book called Anchored, and there's another couple of books as well, but I can't think of them now. But she took what Stephen Porges had put together, this polyvagal theory, which was not really palatable for most people. She made it understandable.
Yep.
So, yeah, she's great. So beautiful.
Yeah.
She's like having a warm hug.
She's a very wise and warm human being. I do have a full podcast with Simon Dubois, if anyone's interested.
That was a great podcast.
Where he goes deep into he's a great teacher on polyvagal theory. But for all of us, it's all fairly new. He's a seasoned psychologist. Spoken to Dr. Oscar Serelak just recently, who again is very much in that functional medical world and working a lot with yoga nidra in his clinic. And polyvagal theory is really this understanding that we've got. It's really new in the world. So Deb Danner has only published her work like in the last 6 or 7 years, and it's profound because what it does is really empower the tools that we have. And now you've got this ability to apply the tools in a really supportive and informed way.
Yeah, I always do I've run workshops on the nervous system. I also do it as part of the curriculum of my course. And I just see so many people go, oh, like the penny drops as well. They're like, they really understand that all they're trying to do is control the nervous system. The drinking. So if you can give them other tools to control the nervous system, to bring it back online, they don't need the alcohol so much anymore. That they realise that, I've got these internal resources within me to regulate myself and to feel safe in my own body again. I don't need that. I don't need to grab for anything else outside of myself. So powerful. So amazing.
It's a really beautiful experience that can happen when you look at yourself through that model. We talk about the window of tolerance. Okay, there's my window in which I'm safe and comfortable, but if I'm outside that window, if I'm overstressed or fatigued or whatever it is, I start to get wobbly. I'm either going to get really anxious or depressed, go into whatever it is, fight or flight, or maybe I'll go into a fawn response. But if I'm in my window, I'm okay. And if I'm anxious and upset, and it's because I'm dysregulated, it's not because I'm a bad person. I think that's what a lot of us have, is this idea of, I'm a bad person. I drank because I'm a fucking idiot. I'm just this, I'm that. The self-flagellation, which no doubt we're all guilty of in some way, shape or form, but this idea that it's actually, I was just irregular. And in fact, I'm dealing with a level of trauma that I can't even understand. It's not even my fault. I came from a world of an upbringing that was just, it wasn't quite right. There was things that I wasn't getting, and I've done a couple of sessions with you where we've explored this, and I've seen you explore it with many other people. The beautiful world of compassionate inquiry.
One other thing about the nervous system too, I just wanted to add, was that there's, like, I've started to also see it as, I know Deb Dana also refers to like the window of tolerance as being a bit like your house. And imagine that a little child is in this house and they feel very secure and safe in their house. But if they wander out of the house, which we all do, we all leave our window of tolerance all the time. Yeah. And I started to think of it like, it's like this kid leaves the house, and if they get a little bit out of the house, they feel a bit, they're looking back at the house, which is the window of tolerance. They're looking back there and they can see it. They know that they can get back there. But when they've wandered too far, it feels really scary, and you're looking and you can't find your way back. Then they're terrified. As they get back there, the only way they know how, which for some people is drinking. Now we do breath work and things like that to get back. But then the more breath work and the more tools that we do to support our window of tolerance, the bigger it gets. And so then that child, doesn't matter how far they go, they're able to see that house and return home, because that's all we're doing, is trying to return home. Yeah. And that's how I like to see it.
Love it. Great. That's right. You and I were having a conversation earlier today, and we were talking about, even in our current enlightened states, times of being really anxious and uncertain and having some really negative thought patterns, et cetera, and that's, for us, that's when we get out of our window of tolerance. And I said back to you, is like, number one, I said, I've had similar experiences, not long enough ago, far enough ago that I forget, like and they'll happen again. I'm sure of it. I'm sure they'll happen again. But I said to you that you now have problems in areas where you didn't have areas. So your world or your house has gotten so much bigger. I've got a new room up there. Now I have a problem about that room, but it's actually needs to, whereas certainly the end of my drinking days was, a lot of it was spent sitting on a couch on my own. It wasn't a big house. It was a very small house, and I didn't want to leave.
And the more we drink and things like that, the smaller that house becomes, doesn't it? Because life becomes so small.
So small. Yeah.
And we get out of, like, triggered and pissed off and all those things so easily. So we're out of that window of tolerance again. Yeah. It's really interesting. But who the fuck am I? I'm like, it's so incredible that I'm even having this conversation with you, because 7 years ago, there's just no way, like, even to have an understanding of any of that.
Here we are, just doing our best, one day after the next. It's brought us here. We're together.
It's amazing.
We didn't explain it. We're doing a course together in Bali at the moment. You and I have run multiple retreats together in Bali at the moment. We've got another one coming up. We just booked another course for June 10th to the 15th. A Beautiful Life.
2026. A Beautiful Life Retreat.
A Beautiful Life Retreat. We'll talk a little bit more about that at the end of the podcast. But which I think we're getting close to. I feel like we've covered a lot of ground. I understand, got a pretty clear picture of why you quit alcohol. That's doing everyone a favour, I reckon, by us quitting alcohol.
I think so.
A public service. We're better off without it.
Yeah.
The world is better off with us not drinking. I think for my family, they're all pretty happy that it's okay. We're better off that way. I know my old family, they all love to drink. And they should all do your course, Daddy. I should point them in your direction. They won't, but they should.
There's a lot of people that won't but should. One thing, like if people listening as well, because there's no judgment against people that drink, but even if you're drinking like one glass of wine at night because you've had a rough day at work, the craving is your nervous system telling you that it needs something. It's wanting to return home. You can have the glass of wine, whatever, but maybe before you have the glass of wine, try a few rounds of Nadi Shodhana first, or extend your exhale, or Samavriti first, Yoga Nidra. Just try something like that first and then see if you still want the alcohol.
Yeah.
Because anytime you crave anything, be it a chocolate bar or anything, if you was to stop and check in first, where is my nervous system at?
Yeah.
Then I bet you there's no way you're in your window of tolerance. There is no way. Very rarely think that someone would make that choice from there. But there's also, I did a course with Dr. Lauren Tober.
Yes.
I did her, I can't remember the name of it now, but it was a great short course. She was...
Trauma-informed yoga, she does a course.
Yeah, it was for people working in the mental health space, but she was teaching them how to do the breath work and all those things. It was a really great course too. And her take on the nervous system and linking that with Rajas and Tamas and Sattva, it's so amazing. Like she's incredible. Has she been on this podcast?
Not yet.
Oh, you got to get her on. She's awesome. That was also a really great course as well. Yeah.
We're fortunate. There's some amazing people in our direct community. We live in the Northern Rivers of New South Wales, but via the internet we can access a lot of our studies, being with people in the US and Europe, wherever, Bali. There's some incredible people out there who are really, they're doing the work themselves and they're exploring, they're publishing the science that's around. People like Andrew Huberman who are publicising a lot of the science and making it cool. It's cool. It's not just about biohacking. People, this whole biohacking culture. Yeah, that sounds like fun, but I'm into contentment culture. Like, it's not about being an alpha mark. Like I just want to be happy mark, content mark, dealing with life, keeping it as simple as possible. Just one more question, I think. I really want to, there's so many things I could ask you. A conversation will continue over time, I'm sure. But I would like to know just a little bit more about what your practice is now and what really inspires you now and what inspires you moving forward. So you've mentioned the gratitude list, which seems to be perennial.
Yep.
Yoga Nidra and simple breath work, which seem to be really core practices. What else do you do that just keeps you in your window of tolerance?
I do a lot because I've got a very expansive practice.
Yeah.
But also, like I said, I get up very early in the morning. I wouldn't expect everyone maybe to have such an extensive practice, but I get up and have a wee in the morning.
Okay, that's a practice. Yep.
And then I go back to either sitting in my bed or the end of my bed, and then I do Vedic style meditation first, and I set my timer for around about 15 or 20 minutes.
Do you have a mantra you work with?
Just Soham. Okay. I just use Soham. Yep. And then after that, I'll go maybe have a coffee, and then I'll bring that back and I flick on my red light therapy panel, and I'll do maybe a bit more meditation, or then I'll do some breath work. Okay. So I always do Viloma, and then I get up and maybe I start journaling then, or stop at some point in there. And I don't do it I actually do the same structure every day. And then I journal at some point in the morning, usually with a coffee. So I do gratitude practice every day. So all the things I'm grateful for, the people I'm grateful for, why I'm grateful for them, pick out one thing and really expand on that and just really get into it. And then if something's bothering me perhaps, which is often, just trying to work through that a little bit in my journal. I did a course with Dr. Rick Hansen years ago, and he had this beautiful practice. He's amazing. Have you read any of his books? Neurodharma? You would love, oh my God, you'd so nerd out on him. Anyway, just in short, in his meditation practices. So he's a psychologist and a neuroscientist. You would love him, but he's also right into meditation and yoga. Okay. And so he set a thing called the caring committee, where you might have something that's bothering you and you have 3 people in your caring committee, and one of them's a fairy godmother type, then there's an inner coach, and then there's the wise sage. So anything that's bothering me, I bring it to the caring committee, I'll bring them in, and so the fairy godmother is, and they just love you unconditionally, and you write what they would say to you, and then your inner coach for me is like Tony Robbins, a lot of swearing. And then the wise sage for me, and it's usually like Wayne Dyer or Michael Singer or someone like that, their voice. So I journal with those kind of things. There's different journal practices. And then I do some asana
Okay.
practice as well. And so could be anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour.
Yeah.
And this is one thing, when I quit alcohol, I made myself a deal that I would do one yoga pose a day. Didn't matter what it was, but as long as I did one, and I'm pretty much stuck to that.
Amazing.
And now it's expanded. But I would say for people listening, or if they don't have, but I'm assuming most people who listen to this podcast have practice, but I say to my people as well, just do one thing a day, set your phone for 2 minutes, start there.
Yeah.
And you might expand another minute in a month's time.
Yeah.
But just start small.
Yeah, absolutely. Start with, I remember doing a meditation course. Coming back, I did a 10-day Vipassana sit, and I came back and I caught up with a friend who had done a similar course, which was quite intense. At the end of that, they recommend, this is the going camp Vipassana, said, you need to do 2 30-minute sits every day. I'm like, fuck, am I going to have 2 young kids? Where am I going to get time for that? And I said this to my friend, I said, do you keep practicing? And she said, yeah, all the time, every day. I was like, wow, she had 3 kids. It's like, how do you find time with 3 young kids? She goes, 1 conscious breath. Wow, 1 conscious breath. I was like, that's a meditation practice, and that's a building block. And it's like, hey, I've got time for that.
Yeah.
Let's make it 2 today.
Yeah.
1 pose. Yeah. And what I often find, if I do 1 pose, do another one.
Yeah, that's right.
Do another one. And all of a sudden that anxiety drops a little bit, and you're like, oh, I've got a bit more time. And like, that feels really nice. I'll do a few. And look, whatever it takes. It's, for me, and it's something you've really impressed me over the years with, is your commitment to sadhana. And this is sadhana is a word we use in yoga, the actions made towards a spiritual goal. And so it could be yoga nidra, it could be your gratitude list, it could be your asana practice, your pranayama, whatever it is, taking the daily walk, something that's going to make you that better version of yourself. And you've committed to lots of different things. The study is a big part of it too. You've been
study's massive, yeah.
Really dedicated student, and it looks different to me, and it's going to look different to other people. And it's like, what can you do that's going to fit in with your world? Maybe it's the yin yoga class twice a week. I remember your sister came and did a retreat with us in Bali last year, and she committed. A lot of people walked out of that retreat and go, this is my commitment to the next year of these are the little things, and that's the getting of sadhana.
But that's because you and Stina made the yoga really accessible for them, and that makes people fall in love with the practice. And that's where Lissy turned it around for me as well. And I remember being on retreat with her once, and there was a lady there who had been in a car accident, and she was all broken, she had been all broken up, and she had lots of injuries on her body. And I was firstly amazed that she'd come on the yoga retreat. She spent most of the time in Shavasana.
Yeah.
And I remember saying to Lissy later,
What's the point?
yeah, and then she said, she's here, and she's on it doesn't matter if she's just here in Shavasana, it's amazing. And I was like, and she's, anything you do, just stay in child's pose if you don't. And I was like, oh. And then that's when I started to like yoga. I was like, I don't have to stand there in pain and hurting myself and injuring myself. I can just do what suits me. And then you and Stina were very much like that on the retreat, lots of using blocks. And that's also when I started to fall in love with props. And I just use a prop now.
I love the props, all the props.
Yeah. It was amazing. And you guys were so great like that. And that makes a big difference for people when they can feel that permission to support themselves, which is a nice gift to give yourself. If you're giving yourself permission to use a block, you're telling yourself that you matter enough to care for yourself. For me, it's a caring option. I could stand here and hurt myself in Trikonasana, or I can get a block and support myself. And that's giving myself and my nervous system also the signal that I'm cared for.
Yeah. And just that, I'm going to take care to do it properly. I'm just going to make sure that this is supportive and appropriate for me.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to keep up with that person over there.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it in a way that works for me. And that goes for all the practices, finding the practice that works for me.
Yeah.
Maybe it's yoga nidra, maybe it's the daily walk, maybe it's the gratitude list.
Yeah.
Maybe it's having a month off the booze. Maybe they can reach out and see a psychologist and ask the questions and get the support and guidance for what would work.
Yeah.
So,
100%.
look, I'm going to draw, I hate to do it, but I'm going to put a little punctuation mark there. And we have a class to get to.
Mine's gone flat, so that's not
Very
happening.
soon. Good. But thank you so much, Danni.
Thanks for having me.
Absolute pleasure. It really has been. I've enjoyed this class. It's so nice to turn, because you're the interviewer.
Yeah.
And you've interviewed me a few times now.
5 or 6 times.
It's really nice to be able to spin that around and ask some of the big questions. Thank you for joining me on the Gentle Revolution podcast.
Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to our retreat.
Yes, next year we're going to be in Bali 10th to the 15th of June, actually here where we're recording the podcast, which is the delightful Sava Eco Retreat.
Stunning.
Up in the hills of Tabanan on the shadow of Batu Karu, one of the ancient mountains of Bali. It's a really special spot.
Quite cool in temperature.
Yeah, it's a bit cooler
Not too hot.
than the coast, definitely a lot quieter. And the focus of the retreat, Danni, is?
Creating a beautiful life. It's called a beautiful life retreat. So we're using the system of yoga, not just the asana, but the pranayama, the philosophy, and just beautiful discussions around how just using that system of yoga can create a beautiful life that is big and rich and juicy and
and look, it's bigger than yoga too. So it's not just for the yogis, and likewise, it's not just for people who are sober or who are wanting to get sober. Really is a retreat that we're opening up to everybody, everyone who wants a beautiful life. And there's teachings that come through yoga, through the philosophy, really simple teachings that I think one of the things we do really well is to show people that it's not just about doing asana, it's all the breath work. We'll use all that stuff and we'll do it, but doing it in a way that makes sense to people so that they can connect with a practice that feels good, a spiritual practice that supports us to live that best version of our lives, really. That's what we're shooting for.
it's going to be beautiful.
Yeah, have a look on either of our websites. You'll find the information. How do we find more about you? Where do we find you?
Probably Instagram at How I Quit Alcohol, or the website is iquitalcohol.com.au.
Awesome.
I'm on Facebook as well.
Facebook as well. And you show up from time to time.
I'm around.
If you don't know of Danni's podcast already, check it out. There's some amazing interviews with moi on there, but like she's got a retinue of amazing guests that you're up to, I think you said 300 episodes. What are we up to?
303 this week, 304.
Amazing. It's such a real legacy of work, a body of work. So I highly recommend Danni's podcast, and I highly recommend Danni Carr. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hariam Tatsat.
Hariam Tatsat.
So I do hope that you enjoyed that episode as much as I did. It was a fantastic conversation. Danni has a way about her of inspiring people, certainly of inspiring me. So if you wish to connect with Danni, check out How I Quit Alcohol on Instagram, or iquitalcohol.com as her website. She is a really inspiring human. And if you're interested about learning more about sobriety, please do feel free to reach out to me. There's a couple of podcasts actually on Danni's podcast where I speak quite openly about my journey. So I'm really happy to support, share whatever it is that you might need upon your journey into well-being. Please do take a moment to like, subscribe, make a comment, share this podcast with your friends. It really does help to keep it going and have a beautiful life. Om.